I want to talk about current energies and the Lionsgate portal that is coming up next Friday. First of all, I would like to invite you to an activation that I'm doing on Zoom at 7 o'clock p.m. There is still time to sign up. But today I wanted to focus on the recent energies, ascension symptoms, and what's been going on energetically. So the one thing that I've observed in myself and people around me and people that I work with, there has been a lot of emotional release linked to high energies coming in before the Lion's Gate. A lot of it seems to be linked to the heart center because the Lion's Gate is all about heart center. So you may have been experiencing some symptoms around the heart, maybe some sort of chest pressure or difficulty breathing or maybe racing heart or some flutters. Maybe you have felt a little bit more tired. This is all happening because we are being asked to release layers of limitations, layers of heartache, layers of trauma that may have been still stored in the heart center. So this energy is basically inviting us and assisting us in clearing and healing the heart center. If you have been more emotional, like needing to cry for no reason, I would like to perhaps make you aware that there is a big chance that it was just an emotional healing that needed to happen at this time. Maybe you are going through this now and you are wondering what's happening. And everything that I can see myself and people around, there is a massive activation going on the heart. You may be feeling tension in your shoulders, in your upper back, in your spine. And it's all because some density wants to be released. And the things that I would recommend if you have been experiencing any of that is obviously to allow yourself to sit with those emotions and just sit quietly, do some gentle, quiet meditations and ask yourself, what is my body trying to tell me? What emotions are trying to come out? Because everything that is happening physically for you or emotionally is just asking you to go within and become aware of what the body is trying to tell you, what your mind is trying to tell you, or what your heart is trying to tell you. Usually around the heart, these are the emotions of unprocessed grief. And obviously, very often we believe that whatever happened in the past, people who may have passed away, family members, friends, whoever, even if it was years and years ago, we think, oh, it's been so long that I'm definitely over it. I don't feel any emotional heaviness around it. But it doesn't mean that the energy, the unprocessed emotion is released. Very often it's stuck there. And portals like this, which are focused on clearing and healing this area, the heart center, will be triggering us to release certain emotions, such as grief. So the easiest way to do it is to ask yourself, did I really allow myself to process the grief fully? Because we usually don't. We are always told to move on as soon as possible, and not just that, just out of just protecting ourselves from going too deep into emotions. Especially in the past, there wasn't this enough awareness about how important it is to fully process the emotions and release them, and we didn't have the knowledge about this. And now obviously we are learning more and more about it, that there is so much stored trauma that needs to be healed and released, because otherwise sooner or later it will show up in the body in some way. usually it will be overwhelming the nervous system, and it's going to be like an accumulation of those unprocessed feelings and emotions, situations from our life, which we believe we have moved on, but the memory is still stored in our cells, in our nervous system. So what I would recommend is you can work with the breath, you can work, set an intention and do yourself a gentle breathwork session, whatever breathing you prefer. Or you can simply sit with yourself and ask, what is this emotion? What is my body, my mind trying to tell me? What is my heart trying to tell me? And then you will get some insights. You will receive some information, maybe images, maybe just the feeling. It doesn't. You don't even need to know what it is. But if you allow the feeling to come up fully, and if you allow yourself to feel it, you will even notice, usually in most cases, you will notice in which part of your body it is stored. And I would say now with this current energy, it will probably show somewhere around the heart center. It can be just felt as heaviness, tightness. You don't have to feel it all the time. You may feel it just when you start focusing on conscious releasing and conscious invoking of this energy. But once you do, if you just do it in a very relaxed way and you really listen to your body, you will be able to feel the tension, to feel any sort of sensations like tingling, heaviness. Maybe just emotions will come up. Maybe you will start crying. You don't even need to know and dig exactly what it is. But when you just allow yourself to feel the emotions like this and really bring them up, whatever that is, bring it up, feel it fully, because that's all it's asking for, to be felt fully. And then connect to the breath and breathing through this emotion, breathing through that sensation that you may feel in the body. That's the easiest way to release any sort of trapped energy in our body, any sort of stored trauma, etc. So this is the most basic somatic mind-body way of releasing any sort of energies that no longer serve us and are still just there dysregulating our nervous system. So you breathe through it gently until it goes away, until the sensation goes away, until the emotion goes away. You do it gently, lovingly, like you're working with your body consciously, because that's all it is. There is so much talk about body and mind connection. And people usually go and look for therapists, energy healers to do the work for them. And yes, obviously, there is room for that as well. But there is so much you can do yourself. And it's so simple. You don't have to be trained in anything specific. You just lay down and you connect, because the connection between your body and mind is already there. All you need to do is use it, activate it, be willing to just work with your body. So that's the best thing that I would recommend for now. If you feel any sort of, that's obviously not just for now, that's whenever you feel any sort of overwhelm, whenever you have gone through any sort of difficult situations in your life and you feel drained, you feel like this energy may be still affecting you, whatever that is, it's not just now around Lionsgate, it's not just about the heart. This practice is good for any life circumstances. And especially if you know that you have gone through a lot in your life, there is definitely a lot of energy that wants to be released. So if you could give yourself a few practices like that, especially when you feel more overwhelmed, or just whenever, when you feel like you would like to work with yourself and try and test it out and see how this feels. And you will be surprised how easy and how much lighter you will feel after a session like this. And you don't have to pay anybody. When I work with clients, when I do similar sessions with my clients where we focus on identifying the energy in the body and then allowing it to come out and move through, we work through the breath and we allow the emotions to really be felt and acknowledged. And then we release them with love. At the end of the session, I usually replace them with positive energy. Usually I just replace, because we don't want to leave the body with some a void of this released emotion, of this released energy. So I usually I bless this place with love, with peace, with wholeness. So you can do it. You can do it as well. So at the end of the session, just fill this space with love and peace, and always thank your body. Thank your body for working with you, because your body is always trying to work with you. Remember that. No matter how bad your symptoms might be, if you are struggling with any sort of chronic illness or symptoms, or whatever is going on, your body is always trying to help you. Your body is always trying to guide you and show you what is going on. In the past few days, I have been working on with my body, doing similar exercises, releasing heaviness from my chest, because it's been quite intense. And I remember having similar symptoms last year around Lionsgate. So it must be something that energetically is being done on our behalf by the powerful energies of the Lionsgate. And I am very sensitive to energies, especially since my awakening, since my healing. I became really, really sensitive to energies. So whenever there are some shifts happening, especially powerful ones, whenever the Schumann resonance is really high and we know that there is a lot of light coming in, I usually sense it. I usually feel it in my body. Sometimes it is overwhelming for my nervous system, and I do use, baths. I ground. So all of this is always good, especially whenever if you are sensitive to energies yourself. And usually, for most people who start meditating, people who start going down the spiritual path, sooner or later you will find yourself being more and more sensitive to energies, because that's part of the spiritual awakening. So this is the thing I wanted to mention. Breathing through the emotion, and breathing and also setting an intention, even saying, if I don't know what it is, maybe I don't need to know what it is, I am ready to release it. That's another thing, just working like this. And sometimes you may find yourself yawning, or tearing, just on, not necessarily here, because that's like typical crying, but tearing on the from the outer corners of your eyes. It's usually emotional release. It's releasing of the energies and the chemicals linked to those energies, those emotions. So if you can start yawning, that's the sign of the release. And the crying, obviously just normal regular crying is always good. I'm sure you have noticed, that always when we cry, we then feel much lighter, and it's almost like we have offloaded some of the heaviness from our system. So it is good to cry whenever you feel overwhelmed. It's not a sign of weakness. It's slowly people start to realize that crying is not a sign of weakness. And actually, it's one of the most powerful healing mechanisms that we possess as humans. And now, for Lionsgate, we are specifically being asked to release any sort of limitations to do with abundance. And obviously, abundance is not just about financial things. Abundance is about tuning into the frequency of love, because love is the vibration of abundance, or equals the vibration of abundance. I would say, if you have been going through some challenges around abundance in any area of your life, but for example, financially, it's almost like an invitation for you to look at it, like where do you still dim your light? Where do you still believe you have to control everything? Where do you still believe that you are not supported? Perhaps you are pushing and struggling too much because you don't believe that there is support out there, that you actually are inherently an abundant being. And unfortunately, the program, it's not easy to uninstall the program that we have been exposed to for so many years. But that's why portals like this give us this opportunity to go deeper and to unplug from the matrix in terms of money, but also in terms of healing. It's all about understanding that everything we have learned so far, everything we have been told so far, was not right. It was all just to keep us small and just to keep us in control. But we have agreed to take part in this simulation, so it's not really to be, I don't know, nobody to be too much blamed for it. I'm not the one who wants to say, oh, we are constantly controlled. If we have agreed to take part in this simulation, we have agreed to forget our true divine nature. And then many of us now are being asked or triggered to awaken through our experiences, through illness or any other difficult situations in life, or simply because for some reason you have become ready to open to this sort of wisdom, to this awareness. Then really it's a blessing, and that's how we need to look at it. It's not about saying, oh, looking back and saying, oh, so I spent so many years of my life asleep, not realizing who I am, and only now am I slowly waking up. But that's not just you. This is happening on a collective scale, and happened to me, happens to so many people that I see, happens to so many people from Dr. Joe Dispenza's community or any other movements, or I don't know, communities where people somehow gain access to spiritual wisdom and start working on themselves. So it's all good. It's all about just understanding that it is such a blessing to be able to awaken at some point, no matter what the circumstances are or have been that have led to the awakening. Whatever they are, and sometimes very difficult, it is a blessing. And just remember that. And even if you are still in the process of healing or changing your life in other ways, trying to heal your life in general, the financial aspects, maybe relationships, family situations, whatever that is, everything that you do for yourself, helping yourself to remember more of who you truly are, is going to help you get there faster. And this is why activations like the one that I'm running on Friday, they aim to help us remember faster. It's like a portal. This energy is going to be amplified. It's an invitation for us to quantum leap, to it's almost like an accelerator. That's how I look at it. The energy is there for us to do a really massive amount of work and shift energetically in terms of consciousness and awareness, and shed layers of things that actually are not serving us, or those programs and limiting beliefs. So by tuning into those energies and doing activations together as a group, but obviously you can do it yourself. I'm not saying that you have to do it in a group setting, but however you want to do it, just give yourself the chance to embrace those energies, because this is how we are supported here. The spirit world and the whole of the universe is doing its part to support us on this journey. And events like that, any sort of planetary shifts like that, and alignments, because this is just a powerful alignment where the energy is all about tapping into abundance that we are. It's not like trying to bring abundance from somewhere. It's not even downloading codes that come from outside, although we can see it this way. It's more about activating the wisdom that is already there in our DNA, in our divine blueprint. So it's all about just allowing this wisdom, this truth, to be felt, acknowledged, and activated in a really powerful way, so that we can move on with our healing, with manifestation of our desires in a more powerful and in a more empowered way, and achieve the goals, and see the changes, see the transformation faster. So if you feel drawn, there is still room to join for the activation on Zoom. If you decide not to join, I would just invite you to do an activation yourself. Do yourself a beautiful meditation, and simply say, intention is everything. Just say, I am fully embracing those beautiful energies. Lionsgate is all about our spiritual sun, Sirius, being aligned, and it's aligned with the main pyramid in Giza. So there is this portal opening between the pyramids and Sirius, and that's how the portal opens, helping us. And it's all linked with the lion's energy because it's in Leo. I mean, as for the month of August. So Leo is all about empowerment. It's about tuning into or tapping into our inner strength. It's about finally expressing your truth. So if you think about the lion's roar, it's about true expression and power, and it's about leadership. So helping us really step into our service, into our full potential, and analyzing and trying to see where we are still limiting ourselves out of fear. And yeah, it's just a really powerful moment to look within and see what else we can do to change our personality, to change our energy, so that we can see a better reflection in our reality. And in this activation, I will be guiding all participants. We will be focusing on different codes, different aspects of this energy. So it's I'm hoping for it to be a beautiful activation. So yeah, but you can do it yourself at home. Just do yourself a nice meditation and just open up to the energies and activate the codes for yourself. We can do all of those rituals ourselves. You don't need to know how to do it. Just follow your intuition. But yeah, if we do it together, it is more powerful in a way that group energy always gets amplified. As we know from Dr. Joe's teachings, he even released the latest thing about abundance, his whole course. He created a nice, new, beautiful walking meditation for abundance. It's all about just tuning into the abundance that is already within us. So if you want to make the most of this energy, you can also just focus on doing meditations for abundance. And if you are working on your healing, physical healing, and you think like, oh, I'm not focused on abundance now, I'm focused on my healing. Remember that abundance is also to do with healing, because actually, it's about wholeness. So abundance is more like wholeness. So abundance of health, abundance of energy, abundance of vitality. You can do those meditations with those intentions. It doesn't have to be about money. But on the other hand, the one thing that I would like to say is, the one thing that I really like to say about money, when I started this journey, I was obviously like, one of the first things that they were pointing out, everywhere you read about, manifestation, it's all about, you have to clear your money blocks and negative beliefs about money. One of the most common ones was that money is the root of all evil. And yes, you must have heard this. You must have maybe felt this way at some point. I definitely managed to clear this for myself. That was one of the first ones that went away as soon as I realized that this was all a lie. Because if you think about it, it's not money that is root to the all evil. It's actually the lack of money that is root of all evil. If you think about it, that's what it is. Why do people commit crimes? why all of this darkness happens in the world? Well, very often because people are in need of money. Yes, sometimes it's just greed and it's not just to survive. But if money wasn't an issue, if we lived in an abundant world, we would have a much nicer life experience on this planet. And this is the world we are building now by doing this work, by understanding that abundance is not something that we have to work hard for. Abundance is not something we have to be killing each other for. If only they told us in schools that you came here as an abundant being. You actually came here with God's credit card that you don't know about, that is available to you and has always been available to you. Or if you don't want to call it God's credit card, call it the credit card of the universe. But you know what I mean. We came here inherently as abundant beings, worthy of everything, worthy of all the goodness. But unfortunately, we didn't remember that. We don't remember that. And as we wake up, we then realize, but the programming is still so intense, especially the one to do with money. The programming is so strong that usually it takes people quite a while to detach from it, to completely erase it, and to shift to the awareness that will allow you to start manifesting money with ease, without working hard. Understanding that money can simply follow when you do what you love. When what you do doesn't even feel like work. And actually, the more you love doing it, the more joy it brings you, the more money is going to follow. There needs to be one condition. You need to trust and know and understand that this is how it works, and not do it from the survival program that you still don't believe that it's going to work this way, but I'm going to try it and see how it goes. Then it's not going to work. That's why the belief and the releasing of the program that you have to work hard for money, that money doesn't come easily, that money has to be earned. This is very difficult, hard programming that needs to be erased. But yeah, we can do it. It just takes time and some practices. And the more you have awareness about this, the more you understand, the more you see other people changing their lives by simply visualizing how they would like to live. So creating abundance through meditation, visualization, because you have heard stories of people winning the lottery, people creating businesses and receiving opportunities of a lifetime. So it's all possible. It is all possible. And it has nothing to do with your skills, with your experience. Absolutely nothing. This is old matrix programming. We don't need any of that. Everything that we need in order to live an abundant and fulfilled life is already within us. And if sometimes there is things that we need to just learn a little bit how to be more efficient, or I don't know, just learn a little bit more. But it doesn't have to be that you have to, I don't know, go back to uni. The age of importance of education and papers and diplomas and all of this is completely slowly going away, luckily, because our worth and our ability to make money is no longer going to depend on how many diplomas you have. The only thing that really matters is how good you are at what you do and how passionate you are about it. And this is going to bring you results. Like, look at the social media now. Like, Who even asks these days what sort of qualifications these people have who talk to you about all sorts of things? Yes, some people are doctors or experts or lawyers or, I don't know, practitioners. But more and more of them, they just have the wisdom. They have the wisdom, they've learned something in their own life, they've gone through some sort of challenge, and now they're sharing it with others. You don't need a diploma for that. And this sort of wisdom, this sort of experience is very often much more valuable than any sort of piece of paper. So that's where we're heading. The world is changing. Luckily for us, the world is changing. And yes, in some aspects, people will still be working on based on diplomas and based on CVs, etc. But you, as a person who is doing spiritual work, meditating, ascending, you will sooner or later end up being your own boss, even if you are still doing any sort of regular job. You will sooner or later find yourself feeling called to work for yourself and do what you love. Because you will have less and less tolerance for being dependent on somebody, on your boss, asking for holiday, limited amount of holiday. It's not going to sit with you well. Not, you know, you don't have to be a healer or a spiritual teacher. But just by doing this work, you will be unplugging from the matrix more and more every single day, and you will not tolerate any sort of enslavement. And a regular job is more or less this. You will want to free yourself from asking for permission. You will want to free yourself from having, a ceiling and in terms of earnings. You will not be able to do this anymore. Let alone the fact that if you become sensitive to energies, you may need to pace yourself, especially at the beginning of your spiritual awakening. You may need to really work with your body to go through the energies, and you may not be able to do a regular job, because what are you going to say to your boss? I'm having ascension symptoms. Is that going to go well? That's why a lot of light workers, a lot of healers, a lot of spiritual mentors, or just simply people who wake up, leave their jobs. Number one, because they just no longer feel the vibration of them. And number two, because they just want to live a completely different life. They want to have slow mornings. They want to have freedom to work whenever they feel like working. Maybe they're going to feel good in the morning and bad in the afternoon because the energy shifts. And they have to adjust their routines to that. And many people talk about it. This is what's happening. So that's why connecting to the frequency of abundance, understanding that everything we've been told was a lie, and now spending time on reprogramming all of this. You can use all sorts of things. Subliminals are very good for that, where you just listen to, you can't even hear the words of the affirmations, but it works on your subconscious mind, bypassing the conscious mind when you sleep, and you can clear a lot of negative programming. You can do affirmations, but for me, the best thing is just to listen to other people talk about this, understand this, and really live it. Because I've gone through a lot since my awakening, and I had to clear so many blocks for myself, especially to do with finances, because everything changed in my life since my awakening. And the one thing that I definitely had to reprogram deeply was the stuff to do with around money. But I started seeing results. I was shown glimpses that everything that I was doing was right. That everything that I've heard and I believed in terms of money being energy, abundance being my birthright, whenever I was able to relax into this knowing and trust, I would always see the reflection of it, and I would always see that this is true. The problem is we don't always trust. And I had lots of situations in the past 3 years where finances were not there, and I would just leave it to the divine. I would say, I don't know what to do, and the money would just show up. Because I was in this massive transition process of like my old clients disappeared because they were no longer my vibrational match, and I was building my practice kind of from scratch, trying to figure out who I want to be now, trying to embrace my new energy, my new outlook. Everything shifted for me. So that's why and at the same time, I also, my relationship ended. So I had to embrace the financial aspect of my life in a really harsh way. And it wasn't easy, but it was a really good, accelerated lesson for me to leave the matrix and trust and understand that abundance is about alignment and not about struggle. And the more I struggled, the more I tried to push, the more I tried to, force things, nothing would work because I was not supposed to do this anymore. So I had to stay in alignment. I had to learn how to energetically connect with abundance and trust. And a lot of it was just surrender, simply surrender. So this energy of Lionsgate is inviting all of us to trust our divinity and trust our this main thing, that abundance is our birthright, and that the more we relax and the more we trust, it will be provided for us. But the biggest challenge is to trust. But like Dr. Joe always says in every single meditation, he says, trust the divine, trust the unknown. Why do you think he says that? Because that's the only way to leave the matrix. Anyway, this video is getting long. That was more or less what I wanted to say. Lionsgate is helping us escape the matrix even more and simply help us become more powerful creators of our reality, also in terms of finances, but not only that. It's all about abundance, feeling abundant in everything that we desire in our life. So make the most of this energy, however you want to do it. And if you would like to join our activation, it is at 7 p.m. UK time on Friday, on the 8th of August. I hope to see you there. If I don't, have a lovely, lovely activation. Even if it happens for you, I don't know, without you participating in it fully. I wish you an abundant month and an abundant life.